Nestled in nature's embrace at the southern tip of Japan, a sapphire ocean cradles a vibrant emerald, Amami Oshima Island. Its beauty is enchanting, its forests ancient, and its shores hum with the gentle rhythm of waves. Yet beneath this captivating veneer, for decades, a deep, unseen terror festered. This wasn't a tale of mythical monsters, but the grim saga of a very real, very lethal adversary, the Habu snake. They were cold, slate gray, and silent hunters. Their venomous fangs held the island's life in a stranglehold. Every year, hundreds of innocent villagers fell victim to their bites. Farmers toiling in their fields, villagers gathering firewood in the forests, even children sleeping in their own homes were not safe. One swift strike and the end of life was almost certain if immediate treatment wasn't administered. A dark shroud of fear enveloped Amami Oshima, and the Japanese government, at the time, found itself powerless, unable to find a solution to this horrifying crisis. It was a challenge that pushed the boundaries of human ingenuity and patience to their absolute limit. The deepening crisis, the 1970s. By the 1970s, life on Amami Oshima had devolved into a perpetual nightmare. The Habu snake's venom was so potent and devastating that victims had very little time to survive. Its neurotoxic and hemotoxic properties spread rapidly through the body, paralyzing the nervous system and causing severe internal bleeding. The pain was excruciating, and without immediate medical attention, the outcome was unequivocally fatal. The island's economy was crumbling. Fertile agricultural lands, once nurtured by the sweat of farmers, lay abandoned. Animal husbandry, the backbone of the villagers' livelihoods, steadily declined. Farmers feared stepping into their fields, knowing a Habu could be lurking anywhere, in the grass, beneath rocks, or hidden in the bushes. A moment's inattention and their very lives were at stake. At that time, no effective antivenom was readily available to counter this terrifying poison. Japanese scientists worked tirelessly to develop an antidote, and they eventually succeeded. But this was only a partial victory. The problem lay elsewhere. To safely store and effectively administer this newly developed antivenom, state-of-the-art medical centers were required, ensuring a continuous power supply. In rural Japan of the 1980s, such facilities were virtually non-existent. The consequences were dire. Snakebite victims who needed immediate transport to a hospital often drew their last breath en route. Doctors with limited resources and vast distances could do little. The situation became so dire that terrified farmers, driven by fear of the snakes, were forced to abandon their ancestral lands and migrate to cities in search of work. Once lush and vibrant villages gradually turned desolate. Amami Oshima, once bustling with life, had become a symbol of fear and despair. The Japanese government was caught in a profound dilemma, facing a crisis with no clear path to resolution.
An extraordinary solution: the introduction of the mongoose. In this hour of crisis, the Japanese government convened an urgent, high-level meeting. The agenda was straightforward: how to free Amami Oshima from this serpentine curse. Every conceivable option was discussed, every angle considered. And then a scientist proposed something that initially stunned everyone, but then ignited a new spark of hope. His suggestion was to introduce a creature that would not only prey on snakes, but also be immune to their venom. This unique concept of controlling nature through nature itself in its sheer originality was ultimately accepted by the government. After extensive deliberation, the other scientists unanimously chose a creature renowned for its valor against snakes for centuries: the mongoose. The mongoose, often called the enemy of snakes, is known for its agility, aggression, and natural resistance to snake venom. Their relationship with snakes has been one of ancient enmity. Once a fight begins, it doesn't end until one is defeated, and in most cases, victory belongs to the mongoose. The Habu snake was also on their list of prey. The natural defense system present in the mongoose's body completely neutralized the effect of snake venom. This meant that even a Habu snake bite wouldn't harm the mongoose. In fact, they wouldn't stop until they had torn apart and completely incapacitated the snake. Moreover, the mongoose kills snakes not just for hunger, but also purely for pleasure. If a snake crossed its path, escape was impossible. This solution, on the surface, seemed perfect. The scientific community was confident that the mongooses would not only suppress the Habu snake population, but also control the island's burgeoning rodent problem. It was considered a double victory. But there was a significant obstacle. The mongoose is not native to Japan. Its original habitat lies in tropical and subtropical countries like India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and Nepal, where the environment is quite different from Japan's. Despite knowing the risks, scientists captured 30 mongooses from those countries and released them onto Amami Oshima Island. They were fully confident that the islanders would now be free from the fear of snakes. This was 1979, when a new wave of hope crashed upon Amami Oshima's shores. But no one at the time had considered the terrifying consequences this unusual decision could bring. This was a decision that dared to violate the laws of nature. And how horrific the outcome of playing with nature could be, the Japanese would acutely feel over the next 25 years. The consequence of a grave error, ecological imbalance.
Initially, everything seemed fine. For a few years, the mongoose population grew slowly, and a superficial calm prevailed. But soon, a grim reality emerged. A few years later, when the mongoose population exploded from 30 to approximately 10,000, some sources suggest 30,000, scientists and local residents alike were astonished by their behavior. They observed that the mongooses were showing little interest in hunting snakes. On the contrary, instead of declining, the snake population was actually increasing in many areas. The primary reason was the nocturnal nature of the Habu snake. They hunted at night while the mongooses were diurnal, active during the day. Due to their differing active hours, encounters between them were rare. Even when encounters occurred during the day, mongooses showed little enthusiasm for killing snakes, especially when other easier prey was available. And this was the point where an unexpected and devastating consequence of this campaign became apparent. Unable to find snakes during the day, the mongooses turned their voracious appetite towards the island's rare and endangered native species. Amami Oshima was known for its unique biodiversity, including several endemic species. The mongooses began preying on the Amami rabbit, Pentalagus furnacei, which are found only on this island and were already endangered. They stole and ate the eggs of local birds, severely hindering their reproduction and pushing many avian species to the brink of extinction. They even started destroying farmers' crops, inflicting a double blow to agriculture. Thus, the result was that the very problem for which the mongooses were introduced had multiplied many times over. A new and destructive nuisance of mongooses had joined the tyranny of the snakes. The 30 mongooses released in the 1980s had now become an ecological bomb. They rapidly spread beyond their initial confined release areas, extending into the island's main landmass, posing a significant threat to the local biodiversity. Local residents witnessed terrible changes in their environment. Many familiar creatures, once common, gradually began to disappear.
They understood that the mongooses weren't killing snakes but were systematically destroying nature's delicate balance. Scientists also recognized this grim reality. If this situation continued, the island's unique biodiversity would be permanently obliterated. The consequence of playing with nature was as cruel as it was imaginable.
The declaration of a new war. Humans versus mongoose. To halt this ecological catastrophe, a new war was declared. Humans versus mongoose. The goal now was to control, or if possible, completely eradicate the burgeoning population of these invasive mongooses. It was a monumental and arduous campaign, demanding unwavering patience, resolute determination, and cutting-edge strategy. The Japanese government, fully grasping the gravity of the situation, declared the mongoose eradication project in the early 2000s. This was no minor undertaking. It was treated as a national priority. Special teams were formed, comprising wildlife experts, biologists, and local volunteers. Extensive search and capture operations were launched across the entire Amami Oshima island. However, capturing the small, agile, and fast-moving mongooses proved to be an immense challenge. They would hide in deep burrows and were extremely wary of human presence. Therefore, the government resorted to scientific and technological methods. Covert cameras were installed in areas frequented by mongooses to identify their movement paths, behavioral patterns, and densely populated regions. Based on this information, specially designed traps were deployed, customized to capture mongooses without harming them. In areas where mongoose numbers were exceptionally high and trapping was difficult, poisoned bait was used. This was a controversial yet necessary step, implemented with extreme caution and control to avoid harming other wildlife. Furthermore, specially trained dogs were employed. These dogs, using their acute sense of smell, located hidden mongoose dens and burrows, making their capture easier. Every night, these specialized teams conducted operations across the island, not just for months, but for years on end. It was a relentless, painstaking, and often frustrating task. But the overarching goal of saving Amami Oshima's invaluable biodiversity kept them motivated.
The declaration of victory and enduring lessons. And finally, after decades of struggle, tireless efforts, and significant investment, in 2018, the Japanese government declared Amami Oshima Island completely mongoose-free. It was a historic moment, a victory that symbolized unwavering determination and a scientific approach. Approximately 400 mongooses were captured or culled throughout this extensive campaign. While this might sound harsh, it was the only way to save the island's unique biodiversity, as by then, the mongoose hordes had pushed over 15 species, including the Amami rabbit, the Ryukyu robin, and other endemic species, to the brink of extinction. Following the mongoose eradication, incidents of snake bites on the island also decreased, but this was not solely due to the removal of mongooses. It was also attributed to increased awareness among local residents, their self-made effective snake traps, and most importantly, the readily available effective anti-venom since 2005. This demonstrates that a balanced and multifaceted approach is often the only sustainable solution to complex problems. Currently, there are no mongooses on Amami Oshima Island. The island's nature is slowly regaining its lost vitality. However, Habu snakes and rodents are still present, though now at a more manageable level. But does the real story end here? Sadly, in this decades-long and arduous battle against the mongooses, humanity did emerge victorious. But the wounds left by those small creatures have not yet fully healed.
The island's general biodiversity has not yet been fully restored, and many species will still require time to recover. Some species have been lost forever. This incident offers us a profound and critical lesson. No matter how intelligent humans may consider themselves, interfering with the natural laws and delicate balance of nature rarely yields positive outcomes. Often, in an attempt to solve one problem, we inadvertently invite another, larger disaster. Maintaining the balance of nature is our collective responsibility. Violating it can lead to devastating and irreparable consequences in the future. This was the incredible yet true saga of Amami Oshima, where in an attempt to avert one threat from nature, humanity inadvertently unleashed another greater catastrophe. This story reminds us that we are a part of nature, not its masters, and respecting it is our greatest wisdom. If you too believe that maintaining the balance of nature is our collective responsibility, please like this video and share your thoughts in the comments below. For more informative and thought-provoking stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We will meet you in the next video. Until then, live in harmony with nature and stay well.